And hello fellow Techers, Space Bandit here with another episode of World of Tanks. And today, guys, we're gonna start something new. Just recently, Foody has sent me replay in his Emil II on map Arctic region. And he asked me to post this video on my channel. And I did watch this game, and it's a really good game, don't get me wrong. Due to the fact that it's a close game, it's gonna come down to 3v3 or something like that in the end. But that's not what I want to focus on in this game. And what I was thinking going forward, this is something that I might actually think about doing with some of my subs. If you guys are interested in doing something like this, please post in the comment section below and let me know if you're interested. What I decided to do with commentary in this game is do a little bit of a critique and try to point out some obvious things that I think would make this game even better for Foody than it is. Now, this game was about 4K damage game, I think, and it was very close game at the end. But I think just looking at the shots that Foody has missed in this game, this could have been easily 6 or 7K damage, raw damage game. And to be honest, guys, this is really what separates good players from super unicorn players, is the ability to aim your shots. And I'm gonna pause the video throughout the game a little bit just to show you what I'm talking about here. So I understand that in many cases you're trying to rush your shots because, you know, you're trying not to take any damage, you're trying to maintain your hit points. But depending on what tank you're in, that's going to differ, because if you're in a tank that has well-armored turret like Emil II has, for instance, you don't really need to be rushing your shots that fast. You are able to kind of poke out beyond the ridge, aim your shot well, and aim for weak spots. So this is the first example. Foody is going to be shooting this T-54E1, and as you notice there, he's looking for red reticle. And in many cases, you can be getting a red reticle and firing the shots and shot bounces because the area that you're aiming at is so small that it's extremely hard to hit from long distance. Now, in many cases, you have to know the weak spots of the opposing tank you're shooting. But if you do not know the weak spots of the tank you're shooting, there are 3 main rules to follow. 1, lower plate. Majority of cases, lower plate of any tank is weak. Number 2, cupolas. Cupolas of any tanks are usually weak spots and are weaker than their other portion of the frontal armor. 3, cheeks of the turret, or turret cheeks. In many cases, that can also be overmatched if you are aiming your shots well. Again, Foody is struggling against this T-54E1, although that last shell was pretty well aimed, I would think, and also this one. I guess it just slightly missed, and because of the RNG rolls, sometimes you might not be getting favorable outcome, because there is RNG on penetration as well in this game, if you're not aware. Now, Foody is only running standard loadout, which I admire, but I would not recommend, because if you run into heavily armored vehicles like super heavies, you won't have any ammunition in your disposal in order to counter these tanks. So it's always good to have that. But if you're a very experienced player and you want some challenge, obviously running full standard loadout, hey, it's up to you. Now, okay, Foody is still dealing with this T-54E1, and there he auto-aimed and missed that shot. Because of the angle that T-54E1 was at, his chance of penetration was about 50-50 because of the RNG roll. Same here. He aimed at the top plate and he was able to penetrate it. But to ensure that he gets the penetrating hit, he should have probably been aiming at his turret cheek, because top plate still could have bounced the shell. Now here, because STI was sideways, obviously he's able to put a shell in, even though he auto-aims, that's not a problem. But now this Object 257, he's got a really troll armor, and you really have to aim your shells when you're shooting at Object 257. Auto-aim is not gonna cut it. So you also need to understand which tanks you can auto-aim at and which tanks you cannot. In this case, Object 257, he should have aimed manually in order to hit the spot that he wanted. Now, he's making a really good play over here. He's gonna back up. He's reloading. He doesn't want to lose any HP. So he's gonna re-angle his tank and he's gonna go behind this E75's wreck. And that's the right play over here. Now that he reloaded, here you can auto-aim because obviously you're going behind the tank and you're able to penetrate in this situation. So that's not a problem. Although one thing to keep in mind is when you're rounding heavy tanks, sometimes auto-aim shots can go into their turrets. So it is still better to manually aim instead of auto-aiming to make sure that you penetrate your shots. As you notice there, his first shot actually bounces because it goes into STI's turret. So auto-aim is your friend, but mostly when you're facing lightly armored vehicles, not heavy tanks. Now here, he's going to overexpose this tank a little bit, and that's a bit of an issue because he showed his sight to this Object 257 and he lost unnecessary HP right there. So it would have been a good idea to just turn around, maybe hit RB button so you can lock onto the Object 257, and then come closer to the ridgeline and see whether you can get your gun down in order to hit him. Now, this situation here again, now that's a little bit sketchy because he's going to pick a position that's not already safe. This is more of a macro positioning thing rather than micro positioning, but where he's going right now, he's not already safe. It would have been better for him to stay closer to that hill on the east side, use the high ground, and approach Object 257 from the same position he was in earlier. But because he came here, now he becomes artillery target, and opposition just barely misses him here, as you noticed, which he got really lucky, and his RD manages to take out the Object 257. Now, if he stayed in the earlier position on high ground, he would be able to poke over the ridge and put additional shells of damage to that Object 257. Now, let's move on to the next step. So now he's facing this Demolisher, and again, same situation here. If he was aiming his shots in the lower plate or in the cheeks of the Demolisher, he would have easily had 2 penetrating hits. Instead, he bounced 2 shells and he penetrated his last because of the RNG rolls. Especially the way the Demolisher was angled, with his top plate being at 45 angle. Actually, the angle was even higher because of the sloping plus angling of the actual tank. Foody could have had additional 2 damaging hits there. So instead of being at 3200 damage, he could have easily been sitting at over 4 or maybe even 4.5k damage at the moment, right now. Now these shots are easy, and Foody's gonna lead these shots really well, so no issues there. And he made the right decision to come back here and defend the base. With, you know, being top tier heavy, an autoloader, obviously it is good that he made this decision to come back and help. That's a great shot right there. Narrow turret shot over the ridge line. Well led. Shot was well led. Now that's unlucky. That shot should have penned the Proto. That's just a bad RNG roll. Second shot in the side, easy pen. Third shot, I think that went into lower plate and took the T28 Proto out of the game. So definitely Foody contributed big to winning this game, and without him putting those shells in at the end of the game, it would have been potentially difficult for his team to win. But my point being here is that he could have had such a monster game in this situation, and he only ends up with 4.1k damage, which is a little bit frustrating for me when I look at these games, because I see a lot of potential for damage in this situation, and this game could have been easily 6k damage game, maybe even higher, could have been even 7k if he was aiming his shots a bit better. But those are the things to keep in mind in order to get better at the game. I mean, one thing is positioning and your situational awareness on the map, and knowing the positions to go to early in game, knowing the positions to relocate later in the game as well, how to defend. These things are very important in order to get better at the game. But the next big thing, and I notice a lot of players doing that, is playing with a pinpoint accuracy, making sure that the shots that you aim at the weak spots. Because if you are, even from long distance, if you're aiming at the weak spots, you have better chance of penetration, better chance of getting damage than if you're not, if you're just aiming at the center of the tank. So especially new players, guys, keep that in mind, because that's going to significantly improve your game, and all of a sudden your win rate will increase if you pay attention to those little details in the game. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd like to thank Foody for sending this video to me. Foody, I hope that you understand where I'm coming from as far as trying to explain some of these things that I see in the game that I think I should relay to all of the newer players out there so that they can get better at the game. Now, if you guys enjoy something like this, if you would like to see me commenting and dissecting your games in the future, let me know in the comment section below. And what I'll do is I'll ask you to send me some games, average games. They don't have to be awesome games, just your average games, so that I can assess your gameplay and try to give you some pointers as to what you can do better in order to get better at the game. So yeah, let me know in the comment section below if this is something you would like to see. I'm totally willing to entertain and do something like that, so that hopefully it could be beneficial to everyone on this channel. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. That's it for now. Until next time, happy tanking, Space Bandit, checking out.
Отъебись ты от меня, ёбаный ты кусок говна, блядь!